You know that highly specific adrenaline spiking panic that just kind of sets in when you're standing in a new environment?
Oh, absolutely. The ultimate social stress test.
Right. Like maybe it's a high-stakes corporate mixer or a dinner party where you literally don't know anyone, or even just a new classroom. And suddenly, the room gets quiet, all eyes pivot to you, and someone drops those 5 terrifying words. Tell me about yourself.
It is brutal because in a fraction of a second, your brain is, expected to parse your entire life history, filter it for this specific audience, and then deliver it flawlessly.
Yeah, and instead it's like your brain just encounters a fatal error and shuts down. I mean, under that pressure, you forget where you came from, what you do for a living, and sometimes, honestly, your own name.
It happens to everyone, but that is exactly what we're going to fix today. Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we are pulling from this massive stack of masterclasses by top linguists and English educators.
We really are.
Yeah.
We're looking at sources from English with Lucy, Lingua Marina, Speak English with Tiffany, English just covering the absolute A to Z of self-introductions.
Yeah.
Our mission here is to deconstruct the anatomy of a perfect English introduction.
Today, because we want you to be able to walk into any room, a boardroom, a casual party, whatever, and introduce yourself with total confidence. And we're going far beyond the basic, textbook vocabulary here. We're looking at the conceptual side, the why.
Exactly. How to sound like a real person and not a walking resume or a glitching NPC. And that initial vibe check really starts before you even get to your personal history. It starts with the absolute simplest thing, saying hello.
It does. And while saying hello seems straightforward, native speakers actually operate on this very nuanced greetings scale.
Okay, break that down for us. What does that scale look like?
So on the formal end, you have your bulletproof options. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. These establish immediate professional distance and respect. But if you take that formal phrasing into a casual environment, it actually creates friction.
Oh, like it's too stiff.
Exactly. In an everyday setting, native speakers will instantly slide down that scale to something like, hi there, or what's up, or how you doing?
You really have to match the verbal frequent Y of the room.
Yeah.
But there is a massive trap here, especially when it comes to regional context. One of our sources brought up the phrase, good day.
Yes, that's such a perfect example of why context is everything. Logically, it just means you're wishing someone a good day, but the cultural baggage attached to it changes completely depending on your geography.
Right, like if you're in the UK, saying good day sounds incredibly formal. It almost carries the linguistic weight of like a 19th century novel. It's almost dismissive, like you're tipping a top hat and walking away.
It really is.
Yeah.
But take those exact same 2 words to Australia and it becomes g'day, which is basically the quintessential, relaxed, everyday greeting of their entire culture.
Same phrase, totally different universe of meaning. And, that cultural contextualization, it extends to the physical greeting too.
Oh, the body language.
Yeah. Marina shared this brilliant breakdown of the culture shock surrounding physical space during an intro. Like in the US corporate world, the absolute standard is the firm power handshake.
Right, American business culture literally measures your trustworthiness by the physical compression of your grip.
It's so intense.
Yeah.
But you cannot export that American power grip everywhere. Marina recounted this meeting with a high-level executive in India, and she had to learn that applying physical force in a handshake there is actually perceived as aggressive.
Or even disrespectful, yeah.
Right.
The cultural norm there is to offer the hand gently. You're communicating respect, not dominance.
Exactly. And then contrast both of those with France. The default introduction there, even among relative strangers, is la bise, the automatic double cheek kiss.
Which would trigger an absolute personal space meltdown for someone used to the rigid boundaries of a Chicago boardroom.
Well, 100%.
Yeah.
It just proves that fluency isn't just about the words. It's about reading the cultural architecture of the room. But okay, let's say you've navigated the physical greeting. You've said hello. Now you have to state your name.
And here's where learners run into a massive grammatical trap, usually because they're directly translating the concept of a name from their native language into English.
Yes, this is a huge one. What's the trap?
Well, in many languages, the phrasing revolves around the action of being called a name. So learners will directly translate that and ask, how are you called?
Which sounds incredibly jarring to a native English speaker. Like really jarring. Why is that? What's the conceptual difference?
It comes down to how English conceptualizes identity versus mechanics. When you say, how are you called,
Okay.
it sounds like you're asking about the mechanical process of summoning someone.
Like, do I blow a whistle? Do I use a megaphone?
Exactly. In English, a name isn't an action performed upon you. It is a core piece of your static identity. And that is why the unbreakable rule is that you must use the verb to be. You ask, what is your name?
It's about who you are, not how you're summoned. I love that explanation. And from a practical standpoint, if you have a name that's tricky for English speakers to pronounce, you can preemptively save them and yourself a lot of awkwardness.
Oh, definitely. You offer them a bridge.
Right. You just say, my name is X, but my friends call me Y, or I go by. It instantly lowers the tension in the room because you're giving the listener permission to use an easier path.
You're taking on that cognitive load for them, which instantly builds rapport. And once you've established names, the conversation almost universally shifts to geography. Someone will inevitably ask, where are you from?
But here's the problem. The standard textbook answer, I am from Chicago, or I am from Berlin, it's a conversational dead end.
It's just a data point. It's flat.
Exactly. It doesn't give the other person anything to work with. So how do we fix that?
To make your intro magnetic, you need to upgrade your location by framing it as a journey. Instead of the static I am from, use phrases that imply motion and history.
Like I was born and raised in.
Yes, which gives a little window into your childhood. Or you could say, I'm originally from X, but I'm based in Y. Even saying I come from is subtly more engaging because come implies you've traveled a distance to be right here, right now.
And if you really want to show off absolute command over the language, there's a specific grammar hack you can deploy here.
The present perfect continuous.
Yes. But let's ignore the textbook terminology for a second. In the real world, think of it as a time bridge.
That's a great way to visualize it. When you say, I have been living here for 3 years, you're using a structure that literally bridges your past to your current moment. You aren't just stating a static fact. You're describing an ongoing state of existence.
And the practical mechanism to remember here is the difference between for and since, right?
Crucial difference. You use for to measure the volume of time. So for 3 years, you use since to point to the exact anchor in the past, since 2021.
I've been living here for 3 years. It just has a natural rolling rhythm to it.
It sounds incredibly native.
But, even with that beautiful phrasing, when the spotlight hits you, your mind can still go completely blank. And Tefani's masterclass offered a brilliant framework to prevent that freeze-up, the 5 Ws.
Who, what, when, where, and why.
Right. But wait, let me push back on this for a second. If I meet you at a coffee shop and you answer my casual question by hitting me with a highly structured who, what, when, where, and why of your morning, aren't I going to feel like I'm taking a deposition?
Well, yes, if you do it like that. But that's a crucial distinction. The 5 Ws framework is not a script that you read out loud sequentially. It's internal scaffolding.
Oh, okay. So it's just for your own brain.
Exactly. It's a mental checklist you run through so you don't run out of details.
Yeah.
And what happens naturally when your brain accesses the where and the when is that you start utilizing highly specific spatial and temporal details.
Give me an example of how that sounds in practice.
So instead of the rigid deposition style, your brain pulls the where and you casually say, I'm heading to a meeting down the hall from the main office at around 2 p.m.
Ah, I see.
You drop in phrases like down the hall, from, or at around. That demonstrates high-level fluency because it shows you have absolute command over describing your environment in relation to yourself. You're painting a scene.
Okay, that makes total sense. Think of it like being an investigative journalist covering the beat of your own life. It just gives your brain the raw materials to paint with.
Exactly.
So you've situated yourself in space and time. Now comes the social currency question, the inevitable. What do you do?
Which conceptually is a fascinating phrase in itself. Notice that native speakers very rarely ask, what is your job?
Because asking what is your job feels incredibly transactional. It's almost aggressive, like you're asking for their tax bracket or something.
Right. What do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Softens it completely. It asks how you spend your time to survive rather than demanding your corporate title.
Exactly. And when you answer that question, you are stepping into what is arguably the most frustrating minefield in the English language. Prepositions.
Oh, prepositions. They are the tiny gears that make the whole sentence turn. And if you use the wrong one, the machine grinds to a halt.
So let's look at the mechanics of this. The rule from the masterclass is that you work at or for a company, but you work in an industry. Why the difference?
It comes down to how English visualizes your relationship to that entity. A company like Google or Microsoft is viewed as a specific point of service. You are directing your labor toward that point. Hence, you work for them, or you are located at them.
Makes sense.
But an industry like marketing or finance is viewed as an encompassing environment. It's an ecosystem that surrounds you. Therefore, you exist in marketing.
Wow, okay. And then when you're talking about your specific title, you work as a position. Like I work as an engineer. And here's a real-world subtlety that trips a lot of people up. You cannot drop the article.
Yes, you don't say, I am engineer.
Right. It just sounds unnatural to native ears.
Because English requires that tiny article, or in Android, to categorize you within the broader group of all engineers. You are one of many.
And that spatial logic, it applies to education too, doesn't it?
It does. If you went to university, you have a degree in economics. Because again, economics is a vast theoretical field you immersed yourself in.
But if you're taking a class right now, say for fun, the prepositions split. You take a course on pottery, but a course in mathematics.
Yes. Think of it visually. Pottery is a physical, hands-on skill. You are focused on the surface of the craft. Mathematics is a theoretical system. You have to dive deep into it to understand it.
I love that visual. That makes it so much easier to remember. And I need to jump in with a reality check here. Just because you possess the perfect grammatical mechanics to explain your entire educational and professional history does not mean you should actually do it.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right. Like if we're standing around eating appetizers at a casual backyard BBQ and you give me a chronological breakdown of your corporate resume, that is a total conversation killer.
I completely agree. And this highlights a concept the experts call context tailoring. Your intro cannot be a static, memorized monologue. It has to be elastic.
You have to read the room.
Yes. You only deploy the heavy machinery, your degrees, your years of experience, your specific title, if you are in a setting that demands professional respect, like a job interview.
Exactly. Work builds professional respect, but professional respect does not build personal rapport. To actually cross that threshold from being a contact to being a friend, you have to pivot from the professional to the personal.
You have to make the personal pivot. And the most natural bridge for that is talking about your family. But again, the grammar matters here. A very common translation error from Lucy's masterclass is saying, we are 5 in our family.
Right, which makes mathematical sense, but it just doesn't land right in English.
Because English focuses on your origin point, not just the current head count. The natural phrasing is, I am from a family of 5. You are establishing the group you originated from, or I am one of 4 siblings.
And after family comes the quintessential small talk topic, hobbies. But please, if you want to sound natural, don't just ask, what is your hobby?
No, it sounds like you're interviewing an 8-year-old.
It's exactly. Upgrade the inquiry. Ask, what are you passionate about? Or, how do you like to spend your free time?
And when it is your turn to answer, pay attention to the mechanism of how English handles activities. Let's say you love baking. A lot of learners will say, I enjoy to bake.
Which is a bit clunky.
It is, because in English, when you talk about a hobby you enjoy, the language treats that activity almost like a physical object you possess. You don't use the action form to bake. You turn the action into a noun by adding ing, the gerund. You say, I enjoy baking.
I enjoy baking. You're claiming the activity as a thing you like.
Okay.
But honestly, talking about the things you love can sometimes be a little predictable. Like everyone loves traveling, reading, and watching movies.
Sure.
And one of our sources featured this role play between Paul and Emily that highlighted a completely different approach, bonding over the things you absolutely dislike.
Oh, that is a brilliant, highly effective psychological tactic. In their scenario, they find common ground not over a shared passion, but over shared annoyances. Like, one mentions a hatred for olives and the other chimes in about despising spicy food and hating waking up early.
It's just so humanizing. Like, think about the psychology of it. When you playfully complain about something trivial, like how much you despise waiting in long lines or the sound of leaf blowers on a Saturday morning, you're offering a tiny piece of vulnerability.
Right. And if the other person agrees, you instantly create an in-group.
Yes. You become the 2 people who hate leaf blowers. It's like a universal cheat code for fast-tracking a friendship. It works way better than just listing your hobbies.
It creates immediate solidarity. However, you can't always rely on casual complaints, because if you're in a structured environment like a corporate retreat or the first day of a class, you are almost guaranteed to face the dreaded icebreaker. Tell us your name, your job, and a fun fact about yourself.
Ugh, the fun fact. The exact moment where you suddenly feel like the least interesting person to ever walk the earth.
Which is exactly why you cannot leave it to chance. The experts strongly advise treating your fun fact like your job title, have it pre-selected and ready to go.
Right, like Lucy uses a cork of her physical anatomy. She has hypermobility and can dramatically dislocate her shoulder blade.
Which is slightly bizarre, but highly memorable. And it gives the room an immediate, easy follow-up question.
But it doesn't even have to be a party trick. Tiffany shared a story about how a very simple fun fact changed her work environment. She realized she and a coworker were both massive foodies. That single shared passion became the foundation of a lasting friendship.
That is the ultimate utility of the personal pivot. It isn't just about sharing data, it's about providing a hook for the other person to grab onto.
Exactly. So if we step back and look at the whole picture here, we've gathered all these raw materials. We have the culturally calibrated greeting, the identity-focused name, the spatial journey of where you're from, the tailored job description, and the personal hooks.
But having a pile of ingredients isn't the same as baking a cake.
No. If you just stack these facts on top of each other, you sound like a robot reading a diagnostic report. Hello? I am Sarah. I am 30. I am from London. I work in finance. I like reading.
It is brutally choppy.
So how do we take all these meticulously crafted pieces and actually make them sound human?
This is where we look at the concept of synthesis, specifically what we can call the two-sentence flow. The goal is to avoid that stop-and-start rhythm. You want to weave the facts together using conjunctions and relative clauses.
Okay, let's hear the upgrade.
So instead of that robotic list, you synthesize it. My name's Sarah. I'm a 30-year-old finance director originally from London, and in my free time, I'm a massive fan of historical fiction.
Oh, wow. That is so smooth. I'm a 30-year-old finance director originally from London. You are delivering a massive amount of data, but because it flows in one continuous breath, it doesn't feel overwhelming at all.
Exactly. You are managing the cognitive load for the listener, but once you have that beautiful synthesized script, you have to confront a harsh reality. The words themselves only account for about half of your introduction.
Right, the hidden 50%.
Yes. The other 50% is entirely unspoken. It's your physical presence and your body language.
Because you can have the most grammatically flawless two-sentence flow ever constructed. But if you're staring at the floor with your arms crossed like a barricade, you are telling the room, do not approach me.
Body language dictates the reception of your words. The consensus across all the sources is the absolute necessity of an open posture. Keep your arms uncrossed, maintain eye contact, smile, and even if your heart is racing and your anxiety is spiking, you have to engage in what psychologists call proprioceptive feedback.
Which is basically faking it till you make it.
Precisely. Your brain actually takes emotional cues from your physical posture. If you force your shoulders to relax and force a smile, your brain registers that open body language and begins to downregulate your stress response.
That is wild.
Projecting confidence physically actually manufactures genuine confidence mentally.
I love that. And, as that conversation eventually winds down, you also need to know how to execute a gracious exit. Like if you were invited to someone's home, a lot of learners will translate their gratitude literally and say, thank you for the invitation.
Which, again, sounds very stiff. It sounds like you are thanking them for the logistical email they sent you.
Right. Instead, you use the warmer, native phrasing. Thank you for having me. It just shifts the focus away from the logistics and acknowledges the hospitality.
Thank you for having me. It is a perfect, warm closing, but before you go out and try to deploy all these strategies, there is one final non-negotiable piece of advice. You cannot simply construct your synthesized introduction in your head and assume it'll be there when you need it. You must practice it out loud.
Wait, why out loud? If I know the words in my mind, why isn't that enough?
It has to do with how adrenaline affects the brain. When that room goes quiet and the spotlight swings to you, your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, spikes your adrenaline. Under that kind of acute stress, your higher cognitive functions actually degrade slightly.
So your brain literally stops working as well.
Exactly. If your intro only exists as a thought, it might get lost in the panic. But if you have practiced speaking it out loud, repeatedly, you have built muscle memory in your vocal cords and your mouth. Your mouth will remember the physical shape of the sentence, even if your conscious brain is panicking.
That is fascinating. So standing in your living room, actually speaking the words into the empty air, is literally installing an emergency backup system in your nervous system.
Exactly. Because ultimately, an introduction should not feel like an interrogation. Our social anxiety frames it as a test we can fail, but in reality, an introduction is simply an invitation to connect. When you master the mechanics, the prepositions, the time bridges, the synthesis, and commit them to muscle memory, you stop agonizing over how you were speaking.
And that frees up all of your mental bandwidth to actually listen to the person standing in front of you, which is the whole point of starting the conversation to begin with.
Right. You transition from merely surviving the social interaction to actively participating in it.
Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a slightly provocative thought based on everything we've just unpacked. We are so socially conditioned to introduce ourselves by looking backward. We state our past, where we were born, the degree we already earned, the job title we currently hold. It's entirely a summary of what has already happened. But what if, the next time you find yourself at a casual gathering, you introduced yourself based entirely on what you are currently curious to learn about?
Oh, that is a fundamental shift in framing. Instead of relying on the safety of your resume, you could say something like, "Hi, I'm Alex, and right now I am completely obsessed with trying to understand urban architecture."
Yes. Imagine how that changes the trajectory of the next 10 minutes. It immediately bypasses the transactional exchange of corporate titles and opens the door to passion, to learning, and to a dynamic, forward-looking conversation. It is definitely an approach worth experimenting with. So your mission for today: construct your two-sentence flow. Figure out your time bridges and your prepositions. And then say it out loud until your muscles know it by heart.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. If you found these tips helpful and you want to keep making your English learning simple, fast, and fun, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the Mini English Tips channel. And drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your new two-sentence introduction or your fun fact. Keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next one.